limit the public to the observations of the actions and discussions of the governing body at all of its regular and special meetings.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Daffis?
Yes.
Mr. DeLuca?
Yes.
Ms. Engel?
Yes.
Ms. Herman?
Yes.
Mayor Adams?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, please stand for a salute to the flag. Outage.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Welcome to the Tuesday, May 20th, 2025 meeting of the Maplewood Township Committee. Tonight, I just want to remind residents that we have voter registration tonight. Town Hall is open until 9 p.m. at the clerk's office. So if you're listening and you need to register, please do so. You have till 9 o'clock. So tonight we have one proclamation that Mr. Daffis will read on Lupus Awareness Month. Then we have public comment for agenda items only. We have our budget being presented for approval and the budget hearing. Then we have the adoption of the budget if we vote to do so. We have several ordinances on for final passage. We have ordinance on property transfer that increases certain fees to continued use for continued occupancy use. We have another on rental properties that will increase certain fees and penalties associated with the registration of rental properties. We have another ordinance on that will repeal and replace a full section of the Township Code of the Township of Maplewood establishing floodplain regulations and adopting floodplain hazard maps. We have three bond ordinances for hearing. Those are mostly for capital projects for 2025, including road program and other projects within the township. Then we have one introduction of an ordinance for the township code entitled zoning review and permits, in the ordinance that'll make changes to fees and penalties with regard to zoning permits. Then we have administrative reports. Patrick Weary, business administrator, Ms. Credidio as attorney, and our township clerk, Liz Fritzen. Then we have elected official reports, committee member Daffis, you go first tonight, Deputy Mayor Herman, committee member Engel, committee member DeLuca, who's making too many notes, and then I go last. We have 4 discussion items tonight. We have the filming ordinance on for discussion, and that Mr. Daffis will lead that discussion. We have a safe storage firearms discussion by Deputy Mayor Herman, cannabis lounges discussion, and I will lead that discussion, and then South Orange temporary use of the Maplewood pool. That's Mr. Weary will talk to us about that. We have the consent agenda, then a second public comment and on any subject matter, and then we will adjourn. So with that, I will hand it over to Committee Member Daffis for Lupus Month proclamation.
Thank you, Mayor, and good evening, everyone. This is the Lupus Awareness Month proclamation. Lupus is a chronic autoimmune disease that affects all nationalities, races, ethnicities, genders, and ages. It is considered a serious global health problem. It is estimated that 5 million people worldwide suffer from some form of lupus. The Lupus Foundation of America estimates that 1.5 million Americans are living with lupus, and approximately 1 in 250 people may end up developing lupus. Lupus causes the body's defense system to attack healthy cells and tissues instead of viruses and bacteria. This can damage many parts of the body, such as the joints, skin, kidneys, heart, lungs, blood vessels, and brain. There is currently no cure for lupus, and it is one of the most difficult diseases to diagnose, as its symptoms come and go and can mimic those of other diseases. There currently exists no single test that can authoritatively identify the disease. However, the outlook for those suffering from lupus has improved. Patients are living longer, more normal lives because of increased awareness of the disease. There are improved diagnostic methods and more effective therapies. As a result of advances from biomedical research and positive findings, treatment methods have progressed significantly. Biomedical scientist Judith Mills founded nonprofit organization Butterfly Walkers, Inc., to increase public and professional awareness and to help create an educated population about the disease. The organization advocates for people with the disease, works to inform patients and their families about their treatment options, and raises funds for research to find a cure. Active with both research active with both the Research Lupus Alliance and the Lupus Foundation of America, New Jersey chapter, Judith Mills has also formed support groups to help people with autoimmune diseases to thrive. To take advantage of the knowledge already gained through public awareness of symptoms and treatment of lupus, the need for scientific research remains essential. In the Montclair community, Butterfly Walkers, Inc., the Lupus Foundation of America, and Lupus Research Alliance assist in various fundraising events, such as Walk to End Lupus Now. Perhaps we should do one here in Maplewood, South Orange. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Dean Daffis, member of the Maplewood Township Committee, on behalf of Mayor Nancy Adams and the rest of my colleagues on the Township Committee, do hereby proclaim May 2025 as Lupus Awareness Month in the Township of Maplewood.
Thank you. Thank you. With that, we'll move on to our first public comment section for agenda items only. Mr. Wary, while I'm looking in the room to see if anyone has any questions or comments, would you please look online to see if anyone is available? Anyone in the room? Seeing none.
If anyone joining on Zoom would like to speak in public portion, please raise your hand now. This is for agenda items only. I see no hands, Mayor.
Thank you very much. Okay, with that, we'll move on to the budget, reading the budget by title, Resolution 177-25. Fritzen.
Yes, Mayor, that's Resolution 177-25, and it's reading the budget by title. So would someone please move that and second it?
Can I get a motion?
I'll
I
move
offer
it.
the foregoing resolution and move its adoption.
I'll second it.
Mr. Daffis?
Yes.
Mr. DeLuca?
Yes,
Ms. Engel?
Yes.
Ms. Herman?
Yes.
Mayor Adams?
Yes.
Okay, so you have read the budget by title, so now
Budget hearing.
we'll go to the budget hearing. Mayor, this is a time fixed for the public hearing on the 2025 municipal budget. The budget was approved by the governing body on April 15, 2025, was advertised as required by law on April 24, 2025, together with notice of hearing for this time. Printed copies have been made available to the public during the past week, and a supply is here for anyone desiring a copy.
As the clerk said, is anyone who has not secured a copy of the budget may do so now. Right up. Yep. Fritzen? Okay, we passed that.
Mr. DeLuca?
We already did that before the hearing.
Excuse me?
We already did that before the hearing, the move.
Okay, so now we're to open the time for a hearing on the municipal budget for 2025.
Okay. Before opening this hearing, I wish to outline the procedure. Each person desiring to be heard will rise and give his or her name and address before speaking. I will recognize one speaker at a time in order of rising as nearly as I can determine, which is very formal, but I'll do it anyway. Address all questions to the chair. Where necessary, they will be referred to individual members of the governing body or municipal officials. Questions must be confined solely to the municipal budget before us. School or county matters are not proper subjects of this hearing and cannot be discussed or answered here tonight. I now declare open the public hearing for the 2025 municipal budget for the township. Observing nobody coming up for this. Mr. Wary, can you check online?
If anyone joining on Zoom would like to speak on the municipal budget, please raise your hand now. I see no hands, Mayor.
Okay, no further applicants from the floor? Okay, then I will entertain a motion to close the hearing.
Mayor, I will read Section 2, the adopting resolution for the 2025 budget.
Okay.
Be it resolved by the committee persons of the Township of Maplewood, County of Essex, State of New Jersey, that the budget hereinbefore set forth is hereby adopted and shall constitute an appropriation for the purposes stated of the sums therein set forth as appropriations and authorization.
I offer the foregoing resolution and move its adoption.
Roll call.
Mr. Daffis?
Yes.
Need a second, no?
Second.
Second.
Do we have?
Second.
Mr. Daffis?
Yes.
Mr. DeLuca?
Yes,
Ms. Engel?
Yes.
Sermon?
Yes.
Mayor Adams?
Yes, the resolution is adopted for the 2025 budget. Yay, it only took
Yay,
months.
let's clap.
Let's clap.
Amazing.
It's a lot of work.
Amazing.
I do want to thank all the, Mr. Wary and the administration on all your work on the budget, as well as those of our department heads and my colleagues, because we put in our time too. Not gonna, I think we should thank ourselves a little bit on this one. Anyway, it's a lot of work and we're almost to start the next budget. But before we do that, okay, let's move on to ordinances, please, on final passage.
Hey, Mayor, ordinance on final passage. Ordinance 3153-25 is an ordinance to amend Chapter 204 of the Township Code of the Township of Maplewood entitled Property Transfer of. This ordinance will increase certain fees with respect to certificates of continued use and occupancy.
This ordinance has been published, copies posted on the bulletin board of the municipal building, and copies made available to the general public in accordance with the law. I'd like to open the hearing on this ordinance. Is there anyone in the room who would like to speak to this ordinance? Seeing none, Mr. Weary, is there anyone online?
If anyone joining on Zoom would like to speak on this ordinance, please raise your hand now. I see no hands, Mayor.
Okay, then may I get a motion, Mr. Daffis?
Certainly, Mayor, I move this ordinance be adopted as a whole, and the clerk be directed to publish the same as a passed ordinance in the Maplewood South Orange News Record according to law.
I'll second.
Mr. Daffis?
Yes.
Mr. DeLuca?
yes,
Engel?
Yes.
Herman?
Yes.
Mayor Adams?
Yes, thank you. Next ordinance, 3154-25.
Also on final, ordinance 3154-25 is an ordinance to amend Chapter 209 of the Township Code of the Township of Maplewood entitled Rental Properties. This ordinance will increase certain fees and penalties associated with the registration of rental properties.
This ordinance has been published, copies posted on the bulletin board of the municipal building, and copies made available to the general public in accordance with the law. Is there anyone here who would like to speak to this ordinance? Mr. Wary, is there anyone online?
If anyone on Zoom would like to speak to this ordinance, please raise your hand now. I see no hands, Mayor.
Thank you. May I get a motion, Mr. Daffis?
Yes, Mayor. I move this ordinance to be adopted as a whole and the clerk to be directed to publish the same as a passed ordinance in the Maplewood South Orange News Record according to law.
I'll second. Ms. Fritzen?
Mr. Daffis?
Yes.
Mr. DeLuca?
Yes.
Sengel?
Yes.
Sermon?
Yes.
Mayor Adams?
Yes. Next ordinance, 3155-25, Ms. Fritzen?
Also on final, Mayor, ordinance 3155-25 is an ordinance repealing and replacing in full Section 271-45 of the Township Code of the Township of Maplewood, establishing floodplain regulations and adopting flood hazard maps.
This ordinance has been published, copies posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building, and copies made available to the general public in accordance with the law. Is there anyone here who would like to speak to this floodplain hazard area ordinance? Seeing none, Mr. Wary, is there anyone online?
If anyone on Zoom would like to speak to this ordinance, please raise your hand now.
I like the way you say now, like
Thank you.
right now.
Later. I see no hands, Mayor.
Thank you. May I get a motion, Mr.
I move this ordinance be adopted as a whole and the clerk be directed to publish the same as a passed ordinance in the Maplewood South Orange News Record according to law.
I'll second.
Mr. Daffis?
Yes.
Luca?
Yes.
Sengel?
Yes.
Sermon?
Yes.
Mayor Adams?
Yes. Next ordinance, bond ordinance 3156-25. Ms.
Also on final, Mayor, ordinance 3156-25, bond ordinance providing for various capital improvements in and by the Township of Maplewood in the County of Essex, New Jersey, appropriating the aggregate amount of $6,532,000 even, therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $6,234,150 in bonds or notes of the township to finance part of the cost thereof. This ordinance will fund various capital improvements in the Township of Maplewood.
This ordinance has been published, copies posted on a bulletin board in the municipal building, and copies made available to the general public in accordance with the law. Is there anyone in the room who would like to speak to this ordinance? Seeing none, Mr. Wary, anyone online?
If anyone on Zoom would like to speak to this ordinance, please raise your hand now. I see no hands, Mayor.
Okay, then I will move this ordinance to be adopted as a whole, and the clerk be directed to publish the same as a passed ordinance in the Maplewood South Orange News Record according to law.
I second the motion.
Mr. Daffis?
Yes.
Mr. DeLuca?
Yes.
Sengel?
Yes.
Herman?
Yes.
Mayor Adams?
Yes. Bond ordinance 3157-25. Ms.
Also on final, bond ordinance 3157-25, bond ordinance providing for various capital improvements for the stormwater utility in and by the Township of Maplewood in the County of Essex, New Jersey, appropriating $2,204,752, therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $1,182,750 in bonds or notes of the township to finance part of the costs thereof. This ordinance will fund various capital improvements for the stormwater utility in the Township of Maplewood.
Thank you. This ordinance has been published, copies posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building, and copies made available to the general public in accordance with the law. Is there anyone in the room who would like to speak to this ordinance, our first for appropriating capital funds for our stormwater utility? Seeing none, anyone online, Mr. Wary?
Anyone online would like to speak to this ordinance, please raise your hand. I see no hands, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. I move this, wait, is it me or you? I move this ordinance be adopted as a whole, and the clerk be directed to publish the same as a passed ordinance in the Maplewood South Orange News Record according to law.
I second the motion.
Mr. Daffis?
Yes.
Mr. DeLuca?
Yes.
Sengel?
Yes.
Ms. Herman?
Yes.
Mayor Adams?
Yes. And the last ordinance on final, 3158-25, another bond ordinance, Ms.
Yes, Mayor, also on final, bond ordinance 3158-25, bond ordinance of the Township of Maplewood in the County of Essex, New Jersey, providing for various capital improvements for the South Essex Fire Department, appropriating the aggregate amount of $1,212,000 even, therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $1,151,400 bonds or notes to the township to finance part of the cost thereof. This ordinance will fund various capital improvements for the South Essex Fire Department.
This ordinance has been published, copies posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building, and copies made available to the general public in accordance with the law. Is there anyone who would like to speak to this ordinance funding capital projects for the South Essex Fire Department? Seeing no one in the room, Mr. Wary, can you ask if anyone on Zoom?
If anyone on Zoom would like to speak to this ordinance, please raise your hand. See no hands, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Then I will move this ordinance be adopted as a whole and the clerk be directed to publish the same as a passed ordinance in the Maplewood South Orange News Record according to.
I second the motion.
Mr. Daffis.
Yes.
Mr. DeLuca.
Yes.
Stangle.
Yes.
Herman.
Yes.
Mayor Adams.
Yes, thank you. With that, we have an introduction of an ordinance on for number 3159-25. Ms. Fritzen.
Yes, Mayor, on introduction, ordinance 3159-25, an ordinance to amend Chapter 272 of the Township Code of the Township of Maplewood entitled Zoning Review and Permits. This ordinance will change certain fees and penalties in connection with zoning reviews and zoning permits and make certain other changes with respect to the processing thereof.
Okay, may I get a motion, Mr. Dafford?
Yes, Mayor, I move the passage of this ordinance on first reading, its publication according to law in the Maplewood South Orange News Record, and a hearing to be held on June 4th.
I'll second.
Mr. Daffis?
Yes.
Mr. DeLuca?
Yes.
Stangle?
Yes.
Ms. Herman?
Yes.
Mayor Adams.
Yes, thank you. It's a lot of ordinances. So now we move on to administrative reports. Mr. Wary,
Have no report, Mayor.
you sure?
Yes.
There's
Okay.
nothing going on? No, I'm just-
That is specific to me for you to be aware of.
Or for the public to be aware.
That's right.
Yes. Would anyone have any questions for Mr. Wary? Okay, we'll move on to our attorney, Ms. Credidio. This is a, yeah, don't worry, Vic has a report. Anyone have a question for Ms. Credidio? Seeing none, we'll move on to our clerk, Ms.
I always have a report.
You do.
I
have-
always have a report.
I know you, almost always. Yeah.
Yeah. So as the mayor stated earlier, there's roughly an hour and 7 minutes still available for anyone that needs to register to vote, to be eligible to vote in the primary election on June 10th. So again, the clerk's office is open and we'll be glad to help you until 9 p.m. And the primary election day is June 10th, as a reminder. And again, everything's been posted up on the township website with all the key dates and changes to one particular voting location from Columbia High School back to Clinton School. And that encompasses districts 4, 10, 16, and 22. I also want to mention that Township of Maplewood is sponsoring a great Memorial Day parade and ceremony on Memorial Day. And if you're interested in participating, you can get that information on the township website. It's a very simple form to complete and register. And we probably have 15 plus groups already registered, and it will be a great day. We also have the Columbia High School Band participating and a full lineup for a ceremony back here at Town Hall, roughly 10 a.m.
Okay. That's it. Okay, any questions for our clerk?
What time does the parade start?
None.
Parade starts at 9 a.m. sharp. Steps off right at the Columbia High School parking lot. Everything's the same. There's no changes. The route is the same. And again, everything is posted up on the township website. And we have certainly more room for participation and would encourage all of our township groups to join in.
Okay,
I
anyone?
will say that Mr. DeLuca will be assisting me, as he normally does, with being the boots on the ground that morning at the parking lot, but everybody will have their numbers assigned to them ahead of time, every group, so it should run very, very smooth.
What do they call that? Gathering cats? No, what is it?
Herding.
Herding cat.
I also
Hurting.
remember Mr. DeLuca being traffic cop last year, so.
Yep.
He
We
plays,
solved that.
So, yeah.
oh, yeah,
Like we said,
Mr.
we
DeLuca had to
had a
leave the
post-
parade last time to.
Post event
last year.
where we spoke about some breakdowns
We
and
went over all of that
Okay.
again at the event planning meeting for this year.
Okay.
Good.
Have you ever, when was the last time you slept in on Memorial Day?
long
Long
time.
time.
25 years ago, right?
Okay, reports from elected officials. Committee Member Daffis.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to note for the public, if you receive our township emails, then you receive notice of Pride starting next month, a couple weeks. We kick off Pride on Sunday, June 1st, with our annual Equality March. We invite folks, this is open to everyone, family friendly. Join us at Rickleton Square starting at 10:30 a.m. for sign making, bring your own signs. And we step off at 11 a.m. and we end up here in the front of the building here in Jerry Ryan Plaza for a rally and a flag raising. I also want to take an opportunity to highlight that we are again hosting a lavender graduation at Columbia High School. That is on June 6th, Friday, June 6th, starting at 6 p.m. And we need more graduates to register. We've had a few registrants, and we know this is kind of typical that they come in very last minute, but we're hoping to get the word out about that. And you can catch the complete lineup of all of our events that we are aware of on our website and on the maplewood.org/MAPSO Pride website. And I also want to note, Mayor, this was news to me and apparently to even our administrator, that we have filed our application for consideration with the Human Rights Campaign for our Municipal Equality Index. So fingers crossed that we come back with a great rating, and hopefully we'll get some news about that in the coming months. We don't expect to hear anything until October, November. And that is my report.
Okay, any questions for Mr. Daffis? All right, thank you very much. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. So are you ready?
Uh-oh.
The Maplewood Community Pool is opening in 4 days on Saturday. This is very exciting. Early bird rates are still in effect. They're available for about 2 more weeks until June 2nd. So you can buy online, you can drop off a check in the drop box at Town Hall, or you can come to Town Hall. Please note, if you plan to come to Town Hall to buy your pass, please don't wait until the very last minute on Friday. It's the night before a holiday weekend, and although our staff will be here, don't push it. It'd be nice.
That's
You
right.
can also buy your passes at the pool. And I also wanted to mention and make sure everyone is aware that we do have discounted rates available through our Pool Pal program to eligible residents. To qualify, there is an application where residents attest that they are eligible. And there are many different ways you can be eligible through free and reduced lunch, Section 8, SNAP, Medicaid, unemployment. Information on all of this is on our pool website. So you can go to our main website and then click through to the pool website or go straight to the pool website. All the information should be there. So hope to see everyone at the pool. Very exciting. Although it's a little chilly. It looks like a little chilly this weekend. Also, as Miss Fritzen mentioned, we have a very busy Memorial Day weekend coming up with lots of really fun activities. And I am really excited about Shalom Fest on Sunday. This is a special event for Jewish American Heritage Month, and it's organized by the SOMA Jewish Cultural Affairs Committee in partnership with our town's Division of Arts and Culture. There will be Jewish dancers and lots of really good food. That is Sunday, May 25th at the Woodland, and it should be a lot of fun. Then on Memorial Day, I am also looking forward to the parade and ceremony at Town Hall, followed by the duck races in Memorial Park. I am really hoping that I win something. One of the ducks wins this year. I buy a quack pack, is what they call it. I buy a quack pack every year and only won once.
Oh, you've won.
I've never won, and I buy one every year too.
The first year we
Okay,
won.
so where? Stop. Yeah, no complaining. You won.
I want to win again. I want to win one of the big.
Gratitude. Hashtag gratitude.
Hashtag. Yeah.
Anyway, that's my report.
Okay.
Any questions?
Any questions for Deputy Mayor Herman?
Wait, when does the pool open again? No,
12 p.m. on Saturday. The hours for the next few weeks in June are 12 to 6.
thank you.
Okay. Committee Member Engel, you're up.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to remind everybody that May is Mental Health Awareness Month. Hold on, I have to unlock my phone. May is Mental Health Awareness Month, so it's a good time to remind everybody about our Make the Right Call phone numbers. Our mental health crisis is 988, emergency 911, social services 211, and poison control is 1-800-222-1222. And I want to acknowledge Ms. Davenport and our health department for having those banners up all around town. So if you need help, do not forget to make a phone call. People are around to talk to you and help you out. I also want to mention that our new stormwater utility bills are going to be hitting mailboxes, and you'll see this handy dandy flyer that our team and administration put together. This new stormwater utility helps fund projects that are needed to fix our infrastructure, and there are credits available. So if you're doing landscaping and putting in dry wells or rain barrel, or native plantings, you can go online and see the credit manual to learn how you can either get a one-time credit or an ongoing credit if you reduce the amount of asphalt that you have and put in more plantings. And then the last thing that I had was I was also going to mention the duck races, and we also had so many shows and concerts at the middle school and at the elementary schools. We had Miss Shona, I think, had productions, the Y had productions. So I just want to congratulate all of our youth who have been performing in arts and music over the past few weeks and in the upcoming few weeks. It's really a fun time to be in Maplewood. That is my report.
Thank you. Any questions for Committee Member Engel? Seeing none. Committee Member DeLuca has no report, so we'll move on to. Oh,
A lot of notes today.
Mayor, I have about a 45-minute report. Just give everyone an update on the bike lanes proposed for Parker. On May 14th, the Engineering, Public Works, and Planning Committee, at our regular meeting, we saw some revisions to the plan. We are looking at those revisions. We had some questions. We will be looking again at that plan on June 11th, which is Wednesday at 8 a.m. That, again, is the Engineering, Public Works, and Planning Committee. We will then, after that, after the 11th, we will schedule a community Zoom meeting the week of June 23rd, where we will present whatever plan that we have at that point. Could be amended some at our next engineering meeting. But that will be, the idea is to present it to the community, the final plan on the week of June 23rd. We'll hear comments if there are any changes that are necessary at our July 9th Engineering, Public Works, and Planning Committee. We will consider those. And then on July 15th, we have teed up the vote to proceed or not to proceed at our regular Township Committee meeting. So that's the schedule. Of course, if we're not able to make a decision on the 15th, we can decide if we need more information or not. But I think by the 15th, we'll probably have all the information we need, and we will have input on the final plan from the community. So that's the schedule on the bikes. On affordable housing, the Affordable Housing Board will be reviewing the draft housing element and fair share plan with our housing consultant. And then that will go to the planning board at its June meeting for their consideration and hopefully their approval. And we will be able to file our plan with the state by the June 30th deadline. So that's ongoing right now. On Wednesday, June 4th, we have a bit of a conflict because at 7 p.m. that night, when we're going to be meeting, is going to be the 30th anniversary of the Hilton Neighborhood Association.
They should come here.
We can't miss that.
Well, we are going to miss it. You know, that's, unless we wanted to push our meeting back by a half hour, which we could decide to do tonight. But anyway, it'll be Maplewood Community Music, Swingtown Band. They have it every year. It'll be at the gazebo, Springfield Avenue gazebo. We'll have a proclamation. We can figure out who's going to read it or what's going to happen. But again, if we want to consider moving the meeting back
7:30.
to set, you know, starting our executive at 7:30 and starting the regular meeting at 8. We have done that for National Night Out. So
Correct.
given that I was the first president of the Hilton Neighborhood Association, it would be really nice if we did that.
And of course, they had no idea to think that we would be meeting on
No,
Wednesday
no,
night.
and,
Right.
you know, they have to get when the band is available.
Sure, sure.
Well, while you're talking about it, does anyone would like to moving our meeting from 7:30 to 8 p.m. that night?
Which night? It's June 3rd, Tuesday, June.
June 4th, Wednesday, June 4th.
Event start?
7 p.m.
Don't we have our meeting on June 3rd?
No, June 4th.
June 4th.
Originally, the
We
primary
didn't change
I
election.
thought we moved it back, no?
No,
No.
we didn't move it back because we didn't want to conflict with the reason that the election was moved, and that was because of the Jewish holiday.
Right. So I'll move it. I'll move.
Second,
Yeah.
that we move it back 30 minutes.
Mr. Daffis,
Yes.
Luca,
Yes.
Ms. Engel.
Yes.
Ms. Herman,
Yes.
Mayor Adams.
Yes, let's hope for a short agenda.
I'm glad this came up, otherwise I would have been here on the scene,
Yeah.
the wrong day.
And then on July 4th, we've had our planning meeting, and I'll just give you a rundown of the activities that are planned. There'll be a 5K early in the morning. 10 o'clock, we'll have our bike parade, and that'll start in Maplewood Village and come into the park. 10:30, we'll have our races at the North Field, which is right across the street from Town Hall. Around noontime, we'll have softball, adult softball, bringing that back.
Yay.
In the afternoon, we'll have bingo. That'll be in the air-conditioned comfort of the community center at DeHart. And then right after that, we will have our ice cream eating contest. And anyone who wants to challenge the winner from last year, feel free.
I think we should do
Uh,
pie again.
Wait, who
because
won
we
last
won
year?
pie.
He
Oh,
did.
Who I have to say?
He did. He won.
That's the biggest mouth.
Yes. Yes.
Then we'll have our pet parade. That'll also be at DeHart there.
Cute.
And then fireworks. We'll open the field and activities starting at 7:30 with a DJ and light show. And then 9 p.m. exactly with the fireworks. And we will have better communication this year with the fireworks people.
Yes.
Yell, start the fire. And then the last thing I have is the next day.
Ooh, ooh.
We
Exciting.
are having the grand opening of the library. And our plan is to close Baker Street and have a little street fair, a little activity out there, music, flag raising, speeches. And then we'll have activities in the library the whole day. People will do tours, and then we'll have art shows and music and all kinds of stuff.
Amazing.
Are we
And
cutting a ribbon?
today,
Are we cutting a ribbon?
we are cutting a ribbon. And we have pictures of 60 years ago
yeah.
when the township committee people wore all these goofy hats. So we want to revive that. No hats this year. And today, the library received a temporary certificate of occupancy from the building department.
That's amazing.
Set to go and move forwards.
Building Department of Melbourne or?
No, Maplewood.
What?
That's all I have.
Any questions?
Mr. DeLuca, I thought you were going to congratulate Springfield Avenue Partnership on a fantastic Mayfest this weekend.
I will second that motion.
So there you go. So good job to
Yes,
Nicole
it was
Wallace and the board and
great-
everybody who planned.
great-
That's
A great day, and they picked a great weather for it.
It was great weather.
Any other questions for Mr. DeLuca? Seeing,
I
none-
reserve the balance of my time, Mayor.
okay. You reserve it. What balance? Okay.
45 minutes. I only used about 15, I think, at most.
Well, everybody took my things for Memorial Day, duck race, all those things, but I will wish a happy birthday to my son. It's a twin birthday with my son and my stepdaughter have the same birthday. So happy birthday in Japan and happy birthday in Philadelphia. They're 11 years old.
Oh, happy birthday.
With that, we'll move on to discuss, I'm assuming no, yeah, okay. We'll move on for discussion items. We'll start with the filming ordinance. Mr. Daffis.
Thank you, Mayor. As a lot of people know by now, New Jersey has a film commission, and New Jersey is becoming pretty hot on the map in the United States in terms of filming. Major motion pictures and series, streaming series, and the like. In fact, Netflix is building a massive studio in South Jersey right now. And some of you have heard the great news that American Classic, a major film studio, is producing an upcoming Netflix series that's being filmed in Maplewood right now over the course of the next couple of months with an A-list cast. Very exciting. So the Film Commission is promoting filming in New Jersey, right? And they developed a uniform ordinance for municipalities to consider adopting. And this ordinance would make those municipalities New Jersey film ready, right? And they would go on a list, and they would be the municipalities that the commission considers first. And so we've discussed the idea of adopting the ordinance, changing our film ordinance to make it New Jersey film ready in the code committee a few times. The code committee enthusiastically supported the idea. There's no negative here because even though we would be adopting this so-called uniform statewide ordinance, we still have local review and control. So we don't have to do everything that the ordinance says. We adopt the ordinance, but we still, with each request for filming, we still have local review power, and we can waive certain things and make sure that we are addressing the needs of our residents. Think about after-hours filming, weekend filming, so on and so forth. And so I think the idea here is to be film ready. Maplewood is already very popular in terms of filming. We've had some major productions film in town, but this would further cement our status and put us on that list. It's good for business. You know, the production right now in the Village, filming at the Bergdorf, is producing boots on the ground to support the local economy. Those folks, when they take breaks, they patronize our businesses. It's a great thing. It increases our visibility statewide and across the nation. And it's overall a positive thing. And so I forwarded some materials to everyone, albeit very late before the meeting this evening. We don't have to take a vote tonight, but if there is consensus to move forward, we would have our township attorney take a look at a markup of our existing film ordinance, which has been marked up to make it to comply with New Jersey film ready status. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Does anyone have it? I was just going to say, I think we talked through this at code committee and I'm in favor of adopting this ordinance so that we can get more filming done in Maplewood. Does anybody have anything they want to ask or say?
I agree. Is there any reason why we can't put this on for a vote next meeting?
No, not at all. Anyone else?
Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm supportive of this.
I'm supportive of this. I want to know which A-listers are coming to town.
Which what?
Yeah, no, we can't do that. Yes.
I was okay.
I didn't hear what you said.
Top secret. Not even I can know.
Yes.
I have no idea what you said.
Yeah.
I didn't hear either.
Yeah, because with these productions, you can't always ensure what you think, A-list actors, their schedules
Oh.
change. So,
Yeah,
but if you read your local news, you may have an idea.
Ooh.
all right, so we'll put this on for
Oh, this is
introduction.
very exciting.
We'll move on from this discussion and put this on for introduction at the next meeting. Okay, safe storage of firearms, Deputy Mayor.
Okay, moving on to a serious topic.
Serious topic, yes.
So, okay, next month in June, we celebrate Wear Orange for gun safety. And in honor of that annual commemoration, I would like to propose two firearm storage proposals. Both have been discussed at our Public Safety Committee. The first one is an ordinance, and the second one is something that we could create. And I want to take the pulse of the committee to see where we all stand. So first one, the ordinance, about half of the states, 26 states, have a firearm secure storage law, including New Jersey. In my opinion, our law is not as strong as it could be. Under New Jersey's law, gun owners are required to lock and store firearms separate from ammunition in homes where children under 16 are present. There is a bill pending in the New Jersey Assembly called the New Jersey Safe Storage of Firearms Act that would strengthen this law by requiring firearm owners to lock and store firearms separate from ammunition when not in use in all homes, not just homes with children. So I wanted to read a couple of things in the state law which really speak to the why I'm bringing up safe storage of guns. Having unsecured personal firearms in the home puts both adults and children at significantly increased risk of accidental injury, accidental death, suicide by firearm, and increased lethality in domestic violence. Ownership of personal firearms in New Jersey has surged dramatically since 2019, increasing by more than 300% in 2020. In 2018, 458 people died from unintentional firearm injuries, 116 of which were children and teens. The American Medical Association, American Public Health Association, and the New Jersey Public Health Association, among others, have declared gun violence a public health crisis. So ensuring that firearms are secured and safely stored reduces the incident and risk of theft or loss, thereby reducing trafficked guns, and it also could save lives from both accidental injuries, accidental death, suicide, homicide. So that's the why. So this bill that is pending in the New Jersey Assembly, there are some municipalities that are looking at passing this on a state level. This is something that I would like to work with our attorney to see, to make sure we check everything and cross all the Ts, dot all the Is, that this is something that we are able to do. Trenton has already introduced it. I believe their meeting is tonight. So we'll check in and see, the status of that. Verona, Bloomfield, Madison, Jersey City, and Hoboken are also looking at this. So if everyone is in support, I propose that I work with our township attorney, to see what we might be able to do here. The second proposal that I wanted to throw up, since we're talking about firearm storage, is one that doesn't necessarily require an ordinance. It would be creating a program in Maplewood by which our residents could voluntarily check in their firearm to our police department. And this would be, if your grandkids are visiting, if you've got an open house, if you're going out of town for an extended period. And this is something that we could work on, with our police department that wouldn't necessarily require legislation of any kind. So those are the two ideas, and I wanted to see if anyone has questions or thoughts and what everyone thinks.
I'm in favor. Anybody want to talk about it? Thoughts?
I have one question, which you may be able to answer, I think, Deputy Mayor, which is that the current state law does not preempt us from being able to go a little bit extra here, right?
So there is no preemption law, but there is some case law that we need to look through. Like,
Use the mic, please.
New Jersey does not have what I would call a bright line preemption. In fact, there is certain state law that specifically authorizes municipalities to pass ordinances concerning firearms. However, there is also case law that, depending on the substance of the regulation, that it may be, if it is specifically regulated by state, that specific kind of regulation is already regulated by state law, we may be preempted. So that's why we just need to, explore all of it a little further. So there are other states that have what I would call a bright line preemption. Municipalities may not enact any law or regulation. New Jersey is not one of those, but there are other things we need to kind of work through.
Thank you.
so yeah, exactly. That's the kind of thing that I would need to work through with the attorney.
Great. Sorry, the
Thank you
lawyer
for
in
the-
me.
Thank you for the legal
I
explanation.
couldn't help myself, the lawyer in me. Also, what are the enforcement mechanisms for something like this?
So this is typically something that isn't enforced after the fact. It would be if officers were to go into a home already, that might trigger it. But typically, these tend to be penalties that are imposed after. And I mean, there's the education component of making sure everybody is aware, that this is the law, this is what you need to do, and hoping that people do the right thing.
Are the penalties fees, or could it also include taking people's firearms from them?
So Committeeman Deficit, I think we're getting a little specific at this point in time, just because of the work that Deputy Mayor Herman and I need to do together to bring a more fleshed out proposal. Generally, though, any penalties are going to be limited in the same way as any other municipal ordinance. Is, maximum fine of $2,000, maximum, 90 days.
That's good. You've answered my question. Thank you. And then I think you mentioned when you were introducing the program, separate and apart from the law, the local ordinance, that would be voluntary.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
Yes, and that's an opportunity to do something, as we work through this ordinance. Some other towns are adopting it, and so we want to talk to, we want to see what exactly they're doing. We know what Trenton's doing. But, as we work through these details, that would be an opportunity for us to, we could do that either way. That wouldn't be something that we wouldn't be able to move on.
And what was the response that you received, the feedback that you received from our public safety officials during Public Safety Committee discussion about this?
I would say it was positive.
Yep.
The Public Safety Committee supports this. I would say on the question of the voluntary lockup at the police station, I think we have to do a little more work about how that would work. There's logistical issues there and
Yeah.
probably some liability issues, so that has to be looked at. But certainly on the introducing the ordinance, we heard no opposition from our police.
That's great. I would be in favor if we can do it all and figure out all the legal stuff. Yep. Thank you.
I'm in favor, and I just want to point out, like, before the pandemic, before Ms. Herman even thought about running, she was doing so much education in the community. I remember we were all taught before going on play dates to ask if there's a gun in the house. And I think along with the legislation and this new program, those talking points perhaps should be out there again, because I think you said gun ownership is on the rise. I think it is on the rise in Maplewood. They don't have those facts. And I think that even well-intentioned, sometimes accidents happen, or young people can get a hold of a gun, accidents can happen. We've all seen the after-school programs and know about real-life situations. So I think having that education piece and those talking points, and when we're educating about this new law, to your point, about why, the safety of it, like why we want to do this in order to prevent accidents, in order to prevent your loved ones from getting hurt. So I am 100% in support, and I applaud Ms. Herman for continuing down this path.
Thank you. And I absolutely agree. I think education is so important. And what Ms. Engel is referring to is making sure that families know that when their children are having a play date, to ask the family if there is a gun in the home and if it's safely secured. So just like you would ask if there's a pool, if there's a dog, letting people know that, your child's allergic to peanut butter, asking about a gun.
Yep. I think that's a good way, this ordinance would be a good way to spotlight that information again. So All right, it looks like you have consensus to
Great.
move forward.
And it looks like we have some work to do.
Okay, the next topic is cannabis lounges, and I wrote down my thoughts because I tend to get a little unfocused when I'm talking about this, but, so I'm going to actually read, which is unusual for me. So I do want to speak clearly about this issue. I think it's timely and important. The responsible introduction of cannabis consumption lounges in our municipality and across the state of New Jersey. Let me start with this fundamental principle. Legal cannabis should come with legal, safe, and regulated places for consumption. Just as we regulate where alcohol is consumed, we must offer adults safe and supervised spaces to consume cannabis. Without consumption lounges, we risk pushing cannabis use into public parks, sidewalks, or cars, none of which is safe, equitable, or consistent with public health goals. With regard to public safety and regulation, cannabis lounges provide a clear path for responsible regulation. They help us reduce unregulated public consumption, including in areas where children or vulnerable populations gather. They prevent impaired driving by encouraging walking and rideshare use that enables us to message this because of the legal consumption lounges. Ensure ID checks and age verification, which are not always enforced in informal or private consumption settings. There's equity and social justice issues here. The cannabis industry in New Jersey was legalized with a promise to correct the injustices of the failed war on drugs. But equity is more than a license. It's about access to opportunity and participation in every part of the industry, including consumption. Lounges offer opportunities for local entrepreneurs, especially those from communities most harmed in the past by cannabis enforcement, to build thriving community-based businesses. And as we're talking about micro businesses being what we would prefer, I think that's a vitally important point. This is our chance to get it right by creating safe and inclusive and culturally relevant spaces where people can gather, socialize, and support local small businesses. The economic development part of this, cannabis lounges are also an engine for local economic growth. They create jobs, attract visitors, and complement existing businesses, whether it's restaurants, music venues like the Woodland, or art galleries, or any other places people might go, whether they were in a bar or in a consumption lounge. By regulating lounges at the local level, we maintain control over hours, zoning, and community fit, while unlocking a new stream of municipal revenue through fees and taxes. So our residents voted for legalization. Now it's our responsibility to implement it in a way that aligns with our values: responsibility, safety, equity, and economic opportunity. This is about ensuring public health, not stigma. Some raise concerns about normalizing cannabis use, and I understand those concerns, but prohibition has never stopped use. It's only pushed it underground. By contrast, lounges allow us to educate users about potency, dosage, and effects, to promote harm reduction practices and responsible consumption, to destigmatize the cannabis plant so that people can make informed choices without shame. Just as we don't judge someone enjoying a glass of wine on a patio, we shouldn't criminalize or isolate those who choose to responsibly use cannabis in designated legal space. Cannabis lounges are not a radical step. They're a reasonable, regulated, and forward-thinking response to the legalization of cannabis. They align with our state's commitment to justice, our town's goals for vibrant main streets, and our shared responsibility to public safety. So I'd like us to move forward, not backward, on cannabis policy and give adults the dignity and space to make responsible choices. So let's lead the way, as we always do here in Maplewood, in showing how legalization can work for everyone. So with that, I'd like to ask Mr. Daffis if he'd have anything he'd like to say in follow-up from what I said.
Mayor, thank you. I think you covered everything and did so if I may say, very eloquently. Like you, sometimes preparing something is more compelling because you're able to get all your points out. And I think you were very compelling. You covered the why. And just to underscore what you said in terms of this, if we were to do something like this in our town, it would only apply to the micro businesses, and reminding everyone that even the state would have to, the state regulates these things, and they have very strict regulations as they relate to odor mitigation, and the consumption of cannabis within those micro businesses. And those regulations are some of the strongest regulations. Restaurants, bars, where alcohol use happens are nowhere near as regulated as cannabis facilities are. And for me, I think in terms of equity and access, you're so right when you say we don't want to unintentionally push cannabis use. And we're always talking about adult use here, right? 21 and over with proof of ID and all that good stuff, right? We don't want to unintentionally push cannabis use to our parks, to our fields, to our sidewalks and our streets, or into people's cars. And we hear often that there are neighbor to neighbor complaints even when someone is consuming in the privacy of their own home a legal product. We hear neighbor to neighbor complaints when they're doing it in their yard. Yards tend to be open, right? And the odor bothers people. There are people who have children at home who cannot do so at home. And then 23 to 25% of our residents are renters. And in most leases, you're prohibited from smoking altogether, including and especially cannabis. And if you are a renter of low-income renter on a subsidy, and we have those folks in Maplewood too, you're committing a federal crime if you consume legalized cannabis in New Jersey in your apartment, your housing unit, and you can lose your subsidy and go to federal prison on top of that. So providing an opportunity for the safe and regulated consumption in a micro business under all of the regulations, I think is reasonable. You said reasonable, and I think it is something that I would also support. And we've talked about this at Code Committee, and I still feel the same way. I still support it.
Okay. Who else wants to speak to this?
I'm a hard no. I don't have anything written or prepared. I'm not going to speak eloquently. I am curious. I was not on Township Committee, nor was Ms. Herman when the original ordinance was passed to allow for the legalization to allow cannabis dispensaries here, which I'm supportive of dispensaries, but I know that lounges were left out of that original ordinance. So I'm curious about what the original reasoning for those to be left out and why there's a turn of thought now where you want to open them up. I'm concerned that we say micro businesses, which means businesses in the village. And I'm concerned that we have no education campaign out there about the effects of cannabis on our youth. And I hear what you're saying, 21 and up plus, but we talk about it as recreational. We don't talk about it as adult use. That language hasn't turned over yet, talking about adult use. We have no education out there. Kids are watching their parents, that's more around, and we're not giving, our old public nurse gave a great presentation at Municipal Alliance about the effects on children's brains up to the age of like 25, and we're not talking about it. We have a huge problem with vaping in our high school right now, and vaping cigarettes, nicotine, cannabis, it's all the same. And I feel like we're moving too fast with the normalization of it without having any kind of education or support. Addiction's on the rise, mental health issues are on the rise, cannabis use is on the rise, drinking's on the down. And I'm just, this really 100% concerns me. And I'll just leave it at that for the moment. But I would like to hear from Mr. DeLuca.
Okay. Well, before that, I would like to first of all, the state didn't allow cannabis lounges when we passed the ordinance for the dispensaries and limiting those to 4. at that time. This is a new law that went into effect 2024.
Yep.
Yeah. So, and I'll give it over to Mr. DeLuca because I know he has some thoughts on this for sure.
Well, I'll just say, I'm a no also, but when we did the ordinance, the question came up whether we should put it in there or not, make it permissible or not. We made it explicitly not permitted. And I can just tell you my own rationale behind that is that we define dispensaries as retail outlets. And to me, it's more synonymous with a retail liquor store than a bar. So at a retail liquor store, you go in and you buy that, you take it out, you're not allowed to consume it on premise. You take it, you're not allowed to consume it as you're driving, you're not allowed to consume it in parks, you're not allowed to consume it on streets. You take it for private use. And that's how we defined, at least for me, that's how I defined when I spoke to the community about the dispensaries. And so I feel that when we were talking about this, that I made a commitment that I would not support lounges or use, whether it's smoking or other kinds of consumption in the facilities. And so I just think that I have to be consistent and not support it now.
I remember you talking about that, so that was my memory of it being a no.
Yeah, I don't remember myself saying any such thing. So, and also I think we evolve as things become more acceptable and accepted. So I'll give Deputy Mayor Herman a chance to opine on this topic.
Thank you, and thank you for all of you, for your presentation and all of the points that you made. I think it's really helpful. This conversation is very helpful, and you're right that this is an evolving issue. As I have said previously in committee meetings, I am currently a no on cannabis lounges. I have some concerns. I'm concerned about having a cannabis lounge located within walking distance to schools, school buildings. I am one of 2 members on this committee who have young children currently in our school system, kids in middle school and high school, Miss Engel being the other one. So as such, I know that when MMS gets out in the afternoon, tons of young students swarm into Maplewood Village. And I'm concerned about children being in close proximity to people exiting a lounge. I'm worried about the lounge being open while we have town events like the Halloween parade and the art walk. I'm concerned about the message this sends to our children, especially teenagers who are just starting to come into contact with these substances. Like Ms. Ingle said, you know, I don't see a public campaign, a health campaign about this right now. I think that's really necessary. I think the both of us saw a Facebook post just recently about a freshman in high school struggling with cannabis use, you know, and this is happening in our community. And I think that, you know, these are things that we need to look at and address before we move forward with something like this. I'd like to, you know which other towns might have cannabis lounges happening, how they're operating, and see how it's going. I know Maplewood likes to be first in a lot of things.
Newark's first on this.
I think that this might be something I don't want to be first on. But look, I could be wrong. I have not heard an outpouring of requests from residents for cannabis lounges. So if there is an outpouring that I'm not aware of, I want to take this opportunity to ask residents to email me. Because I want to know. I want to know what you think either way. I want to know, you know, is this something that our community thinks is a no-brainer? You know, what's the big deal? Why are you being such a prude on this? You know, it's the same as bars. Or is this something that our residents are concerned about? You know, I gotten so many emails on bike lanes.
Yeah.
I haven't gotten anything on cannabis lounges, you know? So I want to thank the mayor for bringing this up tonight. I hope the Village Green does a story and that people start talking about it because I'd really like to know what people think and what they have to say. So
Well, Well, we needed to bring it forward to talk about it publicly so that the public knows we're considering it, right?
Absolutely.
I
Transparency.
do want to address a couple of comments that were made just from my reaction to them. We have public health campaigns. There's no current public health campaign for cannabis use. There's mention of it through our health officer, but there's no public health campaign right now on liquor use. There's no public health campaign on other substances that may be dangerous to children. I think
Sorry, that's not true. There's public health campaigns on fentanyl, on opioids.
Vaping.
Liquor has been a long time legal substance. This is brand new. And so there hasn't been time. And nationwide, statewide, there's not public education campaigns out there on this issue, which there's a lot of people speaking up that there should be. So
Okay,
I just wanted to
well,
disagree with that point.
all right.
No.
That's fine, but I have my chance to respond now and you can respond. So to Mr. DeLuca's point about the store versus a bar, because of the way the licensing is with cannabis, it's very different as you know, the liquor laws very well and they're very convoluted and difficult in New Jersey as it is, but it's just not the way these work. We also know that we don't allow liquor stores to sell cannabis. That's a definite no, that they're separated. But connecting a store with a lounge for cannabis, in my view, is very different than having a bar with a restaurant. That's just my reaction to that. School kids in the village, they're there now, and there's 2 cannabis retail shops in the village. We could set parameters, as I mentioned. We can control hours. We can even control signage. We can not even allow a cannabis lounge sign to be on a micro business's, adjacent lounge to their retail. So because right now, I haven't heard of any negative impacts, and please correct me if I'm wrong, to kids reacting to this legal product and 2 stores in our village where the school kids flood in. I haven't heard any issues with that whatsoever. So I think the bigger impact is that the more we sort of demonize the use of cannabis, it may not be demonizing it, but the fact that we're forcing it to be more hidden than alcohol use or, other things that we can't, that we actually just keep creating this feeling about it, like the prohibition of alcohol in the early 20th century. So, and as far as outpouring or demand for businesses, this is something that, well, when the first cannabis retailer opened on Springfield Avenue, it was one of the first in the state, if not the first. The first?
One of 13. One of the first 13.
But we had, a line of traffic from Route 24, Route 78 coming to it. But typically businesses open, there's an innovation of somebody wants to open a business. It's not that there's necessarily an outcry. Somebody has a desire, an idea. I'm going to open the general store and I'm going to create this. And then it becomes something that becomes popular. So I don't necessarily think we should regulate whether or not a business can exist in town, whether or not we will allow it by zoning, based on whether or not there's anybody out there asking for it. So those are just my gut responses to what y'all were saying. So this is more of a discussion.
I have some follow-up. I mean, I was not on Township Committee when they changed the ordinance to allow dispensaries to be closer together. I think it was like 750 and changed to 500, or 1,000 and changed to 500. But I did speak in public comment against that. So I think there was a lot of people who did not want 2 dispensaries in the village. So I just want to make note of that point. And then I also believe that the regulations for the lounges require no food or drinks to be served. And you're talking about no signs. So like, what exactly are these going to be like? Like, what is going to be the draw to come? Like, what's going to be the atmosphere in them? The whole thing just makes me like a little bit like, I said, like very nervous. And so I think that it's okay to slow down. And like Ms. Herman said, we don't need to be first. I don't think we're demonizing cannabis by not having consumption lounges. We are one of the first municipalities to allow it. We had the first, we have 4 in our towns. I don't think it's a demonizing thing. I just think it's whether we want to create a space for people to go get high and then go to the woodland to listen to music. Like, I don't know. Like, I mean, I think that it's okay to say that we can be doing that in the privacy of our homes. And I just don't know that. I think it's a slippery slope. And I think we need to have more education about the effects of cannabis on.
Yeah, I don't disagree with the education component. I don't think they're mutually exclusive, but I also don't think everybody has the opportunity, as Mr. Daff has noted, to use the cannabis project or specifically smoke cannabis in the privacy of their own homes. So there is that equity issue that exists. And as far as maybe we shouldn't, I mean, it's just, there's a different culture in cannabis, people who, especially generations younger than mine, in the way it's consumed. And there are a lot of people who don't drink and prefer to use cannabis instead of drinking. And there's no place for them to also socialize like you would do at a bar when doing that recreation. And we don't say we shouldn't have bars near the woodland because people might have a couple drinks and go. That's kind of what you want. So either before or after, well, I mean, just to provide that, people go, "Oh, that's our businesses in the village. There's several of them." So anyway, any other comments?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a good discussion.
Yeah.
I don't think this is the end of this. I think we just need to talk more about it and go into the community and let the community let us know how they feel about it. Certainly, this will be reported. I find that this is going to be a hot topic that the Village Green is going to report. Hey, Mary. You know, and we should just educate, because I think, to Ms. Engel's point,
Mhm.
what happens if you have a consumption lounge? What is it like? And so the more that we can educate, but I also think that no one came to the township committee before we opted into cannabis in our township. No one came to the township and said, I want cannabis in my town.
Right.
And the same concerns that were voiced at the time about our doing so are being voiced again. I respect those concerns, especially as it relates to our youth, our vulnerable youth, especially right now with a mental health crisis. But our public safety officials have confirmed that our youth from MMS or elsewhere in town are not breaking into these dispensaries. These dispensaries have like very high security. Our youth are getting cannabis from other places, from the black market, and they don't know what's in it. We have seniors who are living in senior housing, some of them rentals, who use cannabis as a medical product. Let's not forget that cannabis is a medical product, and many seniors in our town have a license, have a health card, allowing them to consume this product because they're fighting cancer or lupus or some major disease that cannabis has been discovered can help with their pain. So I just think that we need to keep talking about it and educating the public. And yes, I think that in parallel, we should be educating about substance abuse all the time, all substances, including alcohol, including vaping. But that shouldn't stop us from also doing what we need to do to ensure that that this product is not continued to be stigmatized. Because the more we stigmatize it, the more a young person wants to use it, and will find a way. And you know, we'll just continue the conversation, I think. But I respect the concerns. I really, really do.
And I just have one more question talking about the renters. And like, I used to be a renter, so I lived in an apartment where you can't smoke. But like, you know, there's reasons why you can't smoke in a shared building like that. And I don't know that the reason that those don't also correspond to in a building in the village or whatnot, right? It's the smell. It's the like, what are those reasons? And what can you be doing in the apartment buildings? Like, I hear that argument, but I'm just saying, like, what are the reasons behind not being able to smoke cannabis in your apartment, and how would that differ from smoking at a business that's in an attached building or whatnot in the
Well,
village.
business would have the same thing that a brewery, a microbrewery has equipment to keep the, clean the air and keep the smell from escaping the
Right.
building.
So I just wanted to point out that
Other
cannabis
department.
can also be consumed by gummy, and that people in rental units can consume it that way if they're not able to smoke. So just pointing that out. And then also with regard to the lounge being in town and then middle schoolers being around, I think it's a little different than a dispensary because individuals leaving the lounge may then go to Starbucks or the Trattoria or Greenway Market or. And these are all places where the middle schoolers are.
Right, but they're not
Are-
smoking at Starbucks or the Greenway or.
I'm just bringing this up as a concern.
Right. So someone goes
I mean,
into one
just
of the
like if somebody goes
dispensaries.
to a bar and they're leaving, intoxicated, we have like disorderly, laws.
And that applies here too. You can't drive.
And I'd like to know more from our law enforcement on how that's enforced, because one thing we're hearing about with the driving with cannabis is that it's actually very difficult to enforce. There isn't a breathalyzer. You can.
No, but
So
officers
it's
have,
very
right,
difficult.
listen, as someone who used to work in the courts as a legal aid lawyer and who's defended people who were accused of cannabis, trust me, yes, there isn't a chemical test, but there are other circumstantial evidence, including odor, including all the other tests for intoxication that allow law enforcement to legally and constitutionally prosecute someone for cannabis consumption while driving under the influence. So,
Does our PD have training in that? I know we talked about it a while ago about training about how to tell or what the signs are, because it's different than when you're drunk, right? I don't know. We came up a while ago, so I don't know if our PD has even had any training in
I don't know,
flagging
but
that.
our chair of public safety might want to bring that up at the next meeting.
Yeah.
So, okay, I think we've talked enough.
Good
There's enough
discussion.
of Yeah, good discussion.
Can I suggest that we also bring this discussion to the Health and Community Services meeting so we can have our health department weigh in or
Sure, we could
provide
even bring it to
information?
Board of Health, but yeah.
Yeah, I can do that.
All right, moving on. Mr. Wary.
Thank you, Mayor. South Orange reached out to us because their community pool is currently undergoing renovations, and due to the short window to perform work and unfavorable weather, they do not expect to open this weekend as they normally would. They are currently scheduled to open for Father's Day weekends. That leaves 3 weekends where they would otherwise be open and are unable to be open. They have requested that we allow the South Orange pool members to use the Maplewood pool until the South Orange pool opens. Again, 3 weekends, this upcoming weekend, the 24th, 5th, 6th, May 31st, June 1st, and June 7th and 8th. They would follow our regular hours, which for those weekends is 12 p.m. to 6 p.m. And similar to how we had exchanged services previously when the Maplewood pool was delayed in opening, and before that, when the South Orange pool was delayed in opening, they would send to the Maplewood pool staff needed to accommodate their members. So that could change, but at this time, we anticipate it would be a manager, 5 lifeguards, and 3 front desk staff. They are very flexible. So I spoke with the South Orange administrator. They understand that Maplewood has a need to serve our pool members, but at any time when there's availability, when there's capacity, they would hope, and their request is that we serve their pool members for that time. And so that will be left to the discretion of our pool staff and specifically our community services director. So, it may look, I would expect that, on any given day, it could be up to about 400 members. But, let's say we had a heat day when we knew that our pool was going to be near capacity with Maplewood members, we can adjust those numbers. But, again, anytime we have some capacity, their request is that their members be permitted to use our pool.
So I have concerns about our residents being able to use their pool for capacity reasons. Not so much this weekend because it's, this weekend doesn't bother me because it's not going to be very pool worthy. But the parking lot and all that kind of stuff. So as I was thinking about this when it was on the agenda, I thought perhaps we could, if the committee chooses to allow South Orange pool members to come here until their pool opens, then I think I would want them to have a staggered, maybe Maplewood Pool opens at noon for Maplewood residents and at 2 o'clock or 1 o'clock for South Orange residents. They would have to have separate staff from South Orange, right? With a canopy or whatever, dealing with South Orange residents and checking them in. But I'd like to give preference to, especially at the beginning of the season. So I don't know, we're kind of on an even level as far as they let us, we let them. So we're even now. So I'm just thinking maybe we have a little advantage for our own residents.
Two thoughts. One concern about limiting their time is then you may compress their pool members who are interested in going to the pool into a shorter time frame, right? So if they have 200 members who want to use our pool on a given day, and now they all have to go into 4 hours as opposed to 6 hours, maybe a little busier. Maybe. I mean, that's just, you'd have to give that some consideration. The second thing is, understanding how pool construction works, and while we would be one up on them this time, such a short window to do pool work. It's basically mid-March until Memorial Day weekend. That's also rainy season, and so it's not unique that this will happen. And I think we should expect at some point that South Orange may have an opportunity to return the favor.
Well, we did just do major renovations, probably another 10 years or so, but anyone? Yes, Mr.
Yeah, I think we should do it. I think we're talking about right now we're talking about 6 days, right?
7 because of Memorial Day.
Oh, Memorial, okay, so 7 days. And I think what the mayor's bringing up is a point that we can evaluate as we go over. And I think what we ought to do is we ought to approve it. We ought to give you authorization to adjust the hours, adjust the process, adjust the parking, however you see fit in working it out with the administrator in South Orange.
Anyone else?
I agree. I'm curious about, because the Maplewood fees are much higher than the South Orange fees. So I'm just curious, you said they're going to be providing staff. Is there any like revenue part of that as well, or it's just, okay, so staff. And then I agree with Ms. Adams, Mayor Adams, about having they'll help, maybe like we have to cap the amount of South Orange residents that are coming, or having the South Orange team checking in the South Orange residents. And I agree about the parking lot issues. Perhaps there could be like a shuttle coming over from South Orange for their jitney or whatnot to decrease that load. And I also agree with Mr. DeLuca about the logistics. I think we saw last year with the heat wave days that sometimes we have to pivot a little bit and move things around and be fluid. And I think our community service department does a good job with that. So I agree with that as well.
Yeah, can they provide any additional lifeguards or anything? That's a question I'd like asked as
Yes,
well.
I believe it.
From the start, they said that they would provide 5 lifeguards.
Okay, I didn't know
That's the
that.
number we came to just because that's what we provided them when we did this last.
Okay, fair
But
enough.
If there's a reason why we need 7, they'll provide 7. If there's a reason we need.
No, I just wanted to make sure they were providing some lifeguards, that's all.
Yeah, lifeguards,
Ms. Herman?
managers, front desk staff.
Can I ask one more question? And I don't know how that affects their swim team, the Dolphins, but I don't know if they've also asked if they can, I don't know, I'm just thinking about that as a swim mom.
Yeah, they haven't asked about that specifically. Again, I think similar to these pool hours, if there's a way we can accommodate them that doesn't impact our residents, then if we have time before the pool's open when we're practicing and they can get in after us, there might be an opportunity there. Yeah.
So I want to share some numbers because that's kind of how I make decisions. So as of this morning, we have sold 932 memberships amounting to 3,500 individuals. This is before the expected pool pass rush that we are expecting as this week goes on. We get closer to pool opening. Granted, the weather of this weekend could impact that a bit. So I want to note that our pool has like kind of a max capacity of around half of the 3,500 individuals that we have. So, and this is for over the course of a day. People come in, they come out. So I think that, so it's spread out over the day. So last year on Saturday of opening day, it was 85 and sunny, and our pool had 1,031 visits. So knowing that, we could accommodate about 400 or so, a few hundred South Orange. On Sunday of opening weekend, it was 82 and sunny, and we had 1,070 visits. Now on Monday of opening weekend, this is last Memorial Day, if you recall, it was a bit rainy. It was 76 with rain, high wind, storms. We only had 274. So, yeah, not so many. Based on this data, I think that we should be able to accommodate South Orange pool users easily on a chilly day, such as what is predicted this weekend. Even on a warm 80-ish day, we should be able to accommodate them. The one sort of thing that we don't know is because we did early bird, we may have more people registered at this point in time than we did last year. So if we're looking at our numbers, that is one thing, like an asterisk to keep in mind. But, we should be able to generally accommodate them. Now, if we get a heat wave as defined as 3 or more consecutive days of 90 degrees or more, that would be a challenge because that's where we really hit the upper limit. And I believe we had at one point to stop letting people in. So those are the days that we do really push the envelope, and we would need to reconsider allowing South Orange on those days, I think. I like the mayor's idea about giving Maplewood residents first dibs on coming in because we have limited park. I think we have 300 parking spaces or so. So we have parking as an issue, and then we have limited chairs. We should tell everybody to bring their own chairs, limited spots, so these are all considerations. I think that this weekend it looks fine because of the weather, but I think that as long as South Orange is flexible for us to, make adjustments based on the weather forecast, basically, then, I would be, supportive of trying to accommodate them as much as we can while also making sure that our residents, don't end up, not being able to go to their pool.
Okay. Mr. Daffis.
I'm supportive, and I leave it up to administration to figure out how to do it.
Thank you very much.
Okay,
South.
so you heard from, the women.
Legally, should we take a vote just to
make a motion, Mr. DeLuca?
make a motion, we allow South Orange residents to be temporary use of the Maplewood pool?
Second.
Could I just amend that motion to, with including some of the parameters that Deputy Mayor and I made and Ms. Engel agreed with regard to perhaps staggered opening times and supplying some staff and all that kind of stuff that we've just talked about.
Yeah.
I don't agree
I
with the
would-
staggered
yeah.
time though, because I don't know that Maplewood residents are all going to come at noon either. So I don't.
No, I know.
I mean, what I'll tell you, I made the motion, I'll accept giving Mr. Weary the ability to make whatever changes he needs to make based on the conversation we have. I don't think we should, be overly prescriptive here. I think we should just give you the authority, recognizing there's a bunch of concerns here.
Yeah.
Recognizing what we said, and
Yeah.
also please let us know what was decided and how you're carrying it out.
And also make sure that the Director of Community Services has enough time to alert her staff as to the schedule that they will have for that weekend.
Okay, Ms. Fritzen, call the roll.
Yes.
Mr. DeLuca?
Yes.
Engel?
Yes.
Herman?
Yes.
Mayor Adams?
Yes. All right, we move on to the consent agenda. May I get a motion?
I moved the
Someone?
consent agenda.
I'll second it.
Ms. Fritzen?
Mr. Daffis?
Yes.
Mr. DeLuca?
Yes.
Engel?
Yes.
Herman? Yes. Mayor Adams?
Yes. We've moved to our second public comment on any subject matter. Is there anyone in the room who would like to speak to any subject matter covered tonight or not? Seeing none, Mr. Weary.
Anyone joining on Zoom would like to speak in public portion, please raise your hand. See no hands, Mayor.
Okay, may I get a motion to adjourn, please?
Second.
Mr. Daffis?
Yes. Oh, wasn't that your motion or you were asking for? a
No, I
motion?
asked for one. Yes.
Oh, then I
No, it
move that,
does matters. You move.
I
and
move that,
second.
okay.
Fine, that's all
Okay.
good.
Okay, Mr. Daffis?
Yes.
Mr. DeLuca?
Yes.
Dangle?
Yes.
Herman?
Yes.
Mayor Adams?
Yes, thank you, everyone, and have a wonderful Memorial Day weekend.